If you're thinking about buying a smart device to add to your existing smart home, or perhaps you're thinking about building a smart home from scratch, I want you to stop for a minute because I'm going to offer you some advice on how to evaluate the technology to hopefully make your home intelligent. A lot of tips in this video, so stay tuned. Hey, it's HighTechDad, and thanks for visiting my channel. I cover lots of technology reviews, how-tos, fix it, particularly how it works in the family. So it makes sense that I'm going to be talking about smart homes here. So be sure that you subscribe and click the little bell icon so that you're notified of new postings. But I'm going to go a little old school here. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint and walk through a series of points on how to evaluate smart technology. This is technology that is supposed to make your home smarter. But if you choose the wrong tech, you may have spent a bunch of money on something that's completely obsolete. Or you may be buying something that has a subscription fee that you didn't know about. So suddenly you're getting more charges without even realizing it when you were purchasing it. So anyway, let's dive into the PowerPoint. I'm going to shrink myself down here and pull up the PowerPoint, and we're going to take a look at some key tips on buying a smart home device for 2019. All right, so let's go through my smart home guide for 2019. So remember, these are 8 things with some details on how to evaluate technology that you may be putting into your smart home. So let's quickly go through what I'm going to be covering, and I'll go into more details in other slides further on. So first of all, do you understand the company's privacy policy? Extensibility. Is the gadget a single-use or a multi-use product? What's the viability of the company making the product? What type of price point does the gadget have? You can go really low or really high, but maybe somewhere in between. Have you checked the end user reviews? Always important to do. Does the device actually offer a solution for you, or are you sort of embracing the solution that it's offering? What type of a pricing model does it have? And lastly, is the smart device part of an ecosystem or just a standalone device? So let's go into some of the details here. So first off is understanding the company's privacy policy. So you have to remember that some smart devices are always listening. You can think about the various devices from Apple or Amazon or Google, always listening. So is that a little creepy? You may want to dig into the privacy policy. And, you know, it doesn't matter if the vendor is big or small, they might not be respecting your privacy. So again, dig into that privacy policy before you buy it. Look for if and how the data is retained, because some companies may actually retain what they call anonymous data for research or for product improvement, but they have to specify if and how they're retaining it. Is any of that information PII? And that stands for personally identifiable information. So if it is, that's a big red flag. You may want to consider getting a different device. And like I said, read the privacy policy. It may be long, but it's helpful to dive into it a little bit, at least so that you have some understanding of what's involved. All right, let's move on to the next one. So is the gadget a one-use or a multi-use product? So I like to put here the quotes. It's a smart light switch or a smart light switch. So I have a bunch of different light switches that are smart in my house. So some of them are single use. It basically, you can turn the lights on, dim them remotely, that sort of thing. But then I have some other light switches that can integrate in with other things. So you need to really take a look at it. If it's a single use, it might be fine for your use case. But if it's multi-use, it might be even better. You have to think about all-in-one devices. And I can do an aside here and talk about multi-device, all-in-one device, printer, scanner, copier type of thing. If one particular function of that all-in-one device goes bad, then you may suddenly have to buy 3 things to replace it, or maybe it won't work at all, or maybe you're okay with that. But then on the flip side, if you're just buying single-use devices, then you have to have a printer, a scanner, and a copier. It takes up a lot more space. So it's something that you need to think about. So one thing, for example, a garage door opener. There are smart garage door openers out there. And when I mean smart, you can probably push a button and the garage door will open. But then there may be some that have better integrations. They may have security built into it. They may also integrate into other things within your smart home. So you can set up geolocation triggers so that when you're arriving home, your garage door automatically opens. And I actually had someone ask me on my website what type of baby cam I should get. So I typically review family tech, but I haven't had babies in many, many years. I have teenagers now. So I'm not really up on the baby cam, what's the best one, what one you should get. But I started thinking about it. And this was a good example of a single use versus a multi-use. So I actually recommended that instead of getting a baby cam, you get a security cam. Because the security cam can actually grow up with your child. You can get security cams that have 2-way, so audio, so you can actually speak to your baby or hear what if they're crying or if they're asleep. And then as they get older, you can use it as a nanny cam or just to monitor kids playing. And then when they're all older, you can use it as a plain old security camera that's all integrated in with the rest of your smartphone. So think about that, single use versus multi-use. So let's go on to the next thing. What's the viability of the company? And what I mean by viability is, are they going to be around in 5 years, 2 years, half a year, 20 years? So these companies are really good at marketing fluff. And I have to say, I am a marketer. I do content marketing. So I write lots of fluffy materials, much of it which is true. But sometimes these companies are out there just trying to get you to buy the product, obviously. So you need to think about the types of things that they're saying and really sort of poke into the items that they're professing that their product does. You may want to go with a name that you know. So bigger names, yeah, it's pretty good. It may be harder to get support, but then again, you may have lots of support options available with a larger name. If you go with a tiny company, there's no guarantee that it's going to be around in a year or so. So here are a couple of things that you can do to evaluate the company. So you can look at their press releases. Are they doing lots of press releases all the time? Are they doing just a couple? Did they just do one when the product launched and they haven't done anything? You may want to see if there's a regular cadence of press releases with new announcements, integrations, that sort of thing. Look for negative reviews of the company. And I'm going to be going into a whole section on end user reviews in a little bit. Has the company been acquired, or are they acquiring companies? Sometimes if they're acquired, they may squash them and the acquiring company may squash them and they may completely go out of business, and then your smart device goes completely dark. Or if the company is larger, they may be acquiring other companies to add to it. So you don't know. You need to look at that kind of stuff, though. What kind of funding does the company have? Are they just a startup and they have angel funding? They're on a Series A, B, C, whatever. Or are they well established? Maybe they have a new division that is specific to smart homes and smart devices. No news at all can mean a lot. That means they're going silent. They're trying to figure things out. Maybe they're preparing for an announcement. But then again, maybe the company's just gone silent because there's nobody there. So take a look at that type of thing, and look at the competition. A small company may be moving, may have a lot of agility as they're developing, but you have to also look at competitors. Are they innovating faster or slower? Is the market growing for that particular company or for the competitor? So another place that I think is really good to look at is the company blog. Are they regularly talking about feature releases and updates and things like that? Are they getting testimonials from end users? Are they interviewing industry experts? That sort of thing. So a company blog is sort of the living part of the site. And then you may want to take a look at support. Is it behind a wall, or can you actually go into user forums and see what people are talking about and that sort of thing? So check the viability of the company. What type of price point does that gadget have? So there are obviously two ends of the spectrum here. Cheap, in quotes, on purpose, versus expensive. So if you go the cheap route, yeah, you save a buck or two, but the thing may break faster than something that is a little bit more expensive or that has a better design. Cheap things, they may last forever. Who knows? But odds are that to keep that price point low, they're going to be cutting some corners somewhere, or they may just have done a really bad design. On the flip side, having something that's very expensive might not be worth it. I have a air filter that is remote controllable, so it's not really smart. It doesn't like trigger automatically, but the thing costs like a fortune. But unfortunately, it doesn't work with my Wi-Fi router. It's a known issue. So luckily, I got this thing for review, and I didn't actually have to pay out a lot of money to get it. But this is at the very top end of some air purifiers. So I would be a little upset if I got this thing and they said they were going to be fixing the Wi-Fi connectivity and it never happened. So here's a great example. Think about a sports car. They're really great. They're expensive to buy, but guess what? They're expensive to fix as well. So you may want to maybe not buy that, $300,000 sports car and settle for the $100,000 one, because it might be a little bit less expensive to fix it. All right, so remember I mentioned end user reviews. So this is a really important thing to take a look at. So read the user reviews. Again, I put it in quotes because you have to be careful. There are a lot of fake or paid reviews out there. They could be sponsored, and I do a lot of sponsored reviews on my site, but I am always careful to make sure that I point out things that I like, but also things that I don't like or that didn't work on all of mine. But you can't be guaranteed that every reviewer is going to be doing that. So watch out for fake reviews. Amazon may have a ton of those, a lot of those 5-star reviews. Don't look at just the 5-star reviews, because you really need to read what people are writing and see if they're authentic. If someone just is writing "great product!" ! Wow, that's probably not a really authentic review. You want to look at people who have actually written more than 3 sentences on the product. So one thing that I like doing is I actually start at reading the bad reviews first. Now you have to take that with a grain of salt as well, because they could be the competition writing a bad review. So just remember that. But if you see a lot of bad reviews, you may want to put the brakes on buying that smart device right away. Also, don't just rely on Amazon or big box carriers or things like that for reviews. Search the web. Go to some reputable websites that do gadget reviews, technology reviews. You can always go to my site. I have a few reviews on there. And read through those, because those can offer a lot of insight. But also look for the disclaimer if it's a sponsored review or if they were paid for it or something like that. But checking reviews is really important. Okay, so does the device actually offer a solution for you, or are you embracing a solution? So I like to call this the Steve Jobs effect. And the example here is we had lots of smartphones. They all had physical keyboards. We were clicking away, happy, happy, joy, joy. And then Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, and it had no physical keyboard. And through his magic and his wonder, he convinced us all that this was so much better. And it was a solution that we had been looking for that we didn't even know that we were looking for. So this is sort of the same sort of thing. A good salesperson can sell you, the shirt off your back sort of thing. So you have to be careful as you're looking at the marketing materials or talking to salespeople, and really see if it is a solution you were looking for or if you're just embracing it. And another way to look at it is a want versus a need. You want that latest gadget, or do you need that latest gadget? There's a fine line in there. Of course, I tell my wife I want and need everything. But, that never works because it's not like, a life-threatening emergency that I need a new gadget. So you need to think about your use case. So here's an example. So a smart lock, really cool to have. You can unlock the door remotely or set up some sort of a key code. But you need to think about the want or need. Do you really want it? Is it just something cool to have? Or do you actually need it? Do you have house cleaners that need to come in at a certain time and you want to give them a passcode? Do you want to track when your kids come home from school so that they each have individual codes? Do you want to integrate when a certain person comes into your home and have the lights go on for them? I mean, there are a lot of different examples that you can think about, and a want versus a need. Sometimes those needs overweigh the wants, so you win out there. So let's go on to the next thing. So what type of a pricing model? And I don't know if you can really tell from the graphic here, but that's the razor and razor blade. You need to take a look carefully at the pricing model, because you can sometimes buy something flat out and that's it. Great smart device. You spend, $100, $200 and it just works. But then there's some smart devices that have a subscription. And in some cases those subscriptions are really warranted. So think about security cameras or something like that. But a lot of companies are moving towards this idea of getting a recurring yearly or monthly subscription revenue. So you have to watch the fine print. And in some security camera cases, you may not need to there may be a free plan. So you may not need to pay a subscription fee. You may not be able to view recordings from a month ago. You may only be able to view things live. So you need to weigh those options and really see if that is something that is really important to you. And also watch out for those subscriptions that don't jump out. It may not be obvious at first, but a lot of companies, especially the larger ones, are going to try to hook you into ecosystems. And I'll go into the ecosystems a little bit later on. So be sure to check that pricing model. All right, hopefully you're not asleep like that little emoji was showing there. So this is the last slide. As I was talking about, does the smart device, is it part of an ecosystem or is it just a standalone device? So this is really something that you need to evaluate. In my smart home, I've got a variety of different things. I've got some Amazon stuff, I've got some Google stuff, I've got some Apple stuff, and I've got some hubs, I've got some switches, I've got locks, I've got cameras, I've got speakers, I've got, garage door opener, all these different things. And they're all kind of integrated. I mean, some things don't work with others, but some things do. So you need to take a look at those big company ecosystems. And what do I mean by that? So, for example, and as I was talking about in the previous slide, getting you hooked into their subscription model. You have the Apple smart speaker, for example. Well, so you buy the speaker, you pay a couple $100, and everything's great. And you can play some of your music. But really what they want you to do is sign up for Apple Music. So you need to think about that little hook there, because you really want to play whatever music you want whenever you want through your smart speaker. Same thing with Google Home. And they have, just like Apple, music, movies, security cameras. They have a variety of things within their ecosystem. And it may be great. And if you stay within an ecosystem, they should all integrate together and work really well together. But they're going to hook you into maybe a music service or, the security camera service or something like that. So you need to think about that. Same thing with Amazon. They're going to want you to sign up for Amazon Prime so that you can do your shopping through your speaker and integrate with other things within your smart home. It's great, but you have to make that decision of, do you want to shell out the extra money for a subscription? Also, if you go with an ecosystem, as I mentioned, there may be easier integrations. I have a third-party hub that integrates a bunch of other things, and I really like that. I have a light switch that integrates in with a bunch of different things. It's almost like a mini hub in itself. And it's kind of nice than having a bunch of standalone stuff where you have a bunch of apps on your phone and they're not really integrated. So my recommendation, look for the easier integrations or the ecosystems that are a little bit bigger. And as I said, I had a light switch that integrates in with a lot of different things and hooks into those various ecosystems. So look for things that can be extensible, that can be integrated. That's pretty much it. So hopefully these tips have really helped out. And if you don't want to watch through this long video again, you can actually head over to my website, and I wrote up a bunch of these examples. And my website is www.HighTechDad.com. There'll be some links in the show notes and that sort of thing. But I also set up a really easy URL for you to go directly to this article. So it's a bit.ly, it's a shortened URL. It's just bit.ly/Smart Home Guide 2019. So if you can remember that, or you see that in the wherever that link is on the screen, just head over there and you should have everything in there. So hopefully you found this helpful. I'd love to know what kind of smart devices you actually have running in your house, or what you're considering getting. If you have any questions, leave a comment or hit me up on Twitter, and I'm at HighTechDad on Twitter. But I really would love to know, what are you evaluating? What did you decide not to get? Did any of these tips help you? What other tips do you have? I mean, I'm not a super expert on this stuff. I've tested a lot of it, but I just want to know what you liked and what you found helpful. So until next time, good luck with that smart home, and keep buying those gadgets.